I guess you
Okay.
can see us.
It is 4:30, and I'm going to call the meeting to order. We have somebody coming in.
Ruth.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
Hey, Ruth.
Hi.
So we'll get things started. Most of the committee is the same, but it's not. So we'll start right here with introductions, please.
Joe Lyles.
Sarah
Oh,
Oh, and I live on Beach Hill, Norridgewock. Yes.
Sarah Garage, Bigelow Hill, or Henry's Way, whichever you want to say.
Becky from the rail trail. Oh, it's looking at
Ruth Keister, Pine Street.
Ryan Jones, Charles Road.
John Lynch, River Road.
And Sally's walking in.
Walden.
she comes.
Sally Wilder Hill.
We're making
We got you
introductions.
covered.
Introductions.
Oh,
Yes.
Fair enough.
Okay. So we're calling the meeting to order and we're going to just jump right into the election.
We're going to do election of officers because you do have a new board. So nominations for chair, please.
I nominate Tara. I said, I can fix something that's not broken. But she.
I nominate John.
I decline the nomination.
That's not fair.
I know. Life isn't.
Okay, so would anybody like to
Okay.
vote on this?
Are there any other nominations for chair?
Make a motion nomination cease.
Second.
That's it.
Those in favor of nomination ceasing,
Never heard that before.
that carries.
Yeah.
And then all those in favor of Tara as chair. Those opposed, those abstained. That is 6-0-1. Meeting is yours.
Okay,
She probably needs.
so then we can do the vice chair election and nominations for the vice chair.
That's good. All people who might be away.
Okay, I second that.
Yeah.
I said skip, but then I remember you might be away. In
Oh.
September, or whatever it is, so.
Why not? You can remote in, can't you?
Yeah,
Yeah, right?
if I'm around.
Okay.
I'm on the road a lot.
Okay. Any other nominations for vice chair? Do we want to take a roll call for that? All in favor? That's everybody, and I'll abstain. That's you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then nominations for secretary.
I'm gonna decline.
Okay.
Becky?
I decline too. I don't see why a man can't do it.
Okay. Richard, are you available to?
I am today.
Secretary again?
Yeah.
For budget committee? Okay, I make a motion for Richard.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Okay. Good. Discussion on the meeting notes for January 8th, 2024.
Motion to accept the minutes as written on January 8th, 2020.
1 second. Any discussion? Okay. Good enough. Oh, yes, all in favor? Yes. That's everybody. And review proposed articles for July 30th, 2024 special town referendum. Do we just do discussion because we haven't met on this before, or?
That should seem reasonable to me.
Okay.
I can give you an overview, you can ask questions and go from there. Fair enough.
Can you start out with what's the significance of, like, is this like recommended by the budget committee? Is that what will be on the ballot, or like, why are we here, I guess?
That's correct. So, the select board is holding a special town meeting, which will only be a secret ballot town meeting on July the 30th. It started with, filling the vacancy on the select board. and then became an opportunity for them to insert a referendum question, and then now insert 2 referendum questions. So when there's an appropriation of funds, the budget committee is required to have a recommendation appear on the warrant. It will appear on the ballot as well, on the recommendation for it. So that's where that's at. Any questions about your role? And it's
Not my role. I don't know how to ask this question. It says select board recommends approval 4-0. There are only 3 people at the meeting.
correct. So I took it off the record. They didn't vote. I asked if that was their consensus, and then I talked to.
So it's not a publicly done deal.
Because it wasn't anything against the recommendation. And I can get it clarified on the record for the next meeting.
No, it's happened other times, and I just wondered why. Sometimes there are fewer people than says recommended approval.
Correct. And they'll have the opportunity at the meeting on the 17th to back away from that if anybody wants to at the last minute. So Article 3, and that's how it'll appear on the ballot, below the vote for select board member will say, shall the town vote to authorize the select board to appropriate an amount not to exceed $175,000 from the unassigned fund balance surplus to purchase a multi-use machine for sidewalk and road maintenance. The thought there, the board has been exploring the idea of being able to do certain things in-house, with the idea that there could be cost savings for the town. So this came up last year, a year ago, a little bit earlier than now, with roadside mowing. When roadside mowing was all over the map in terms of prices that were submitted, low bid versus low bid in compliance with bid specs or supposed to in compliance. And that really started with, when we saw the discrepancy in that pricing, that really started the discussion, but what are we able to do ourselves? So that began at that point in time where I started to collect information, which some of it's in your packet, about multi-use machines. And then we've got a multi-million-dollar sidewalk project that's going to happen where we're going to upgrade our sidewalks on Main Street, add lighting, and then extend sidewalk down into Sewell Park from Everett's Tire and Car Wash. And so the machine that we have now is a small John Deere tractor with a residential snowblower on the front, no plowing capabilities. And so the question was, is there a multi-use piece of equipment that could provide more than one use? When they purchased that tractor for the sidewalk a few years ago, it was in the ballpark of $20,000. And so board doesn't feel that it's adequate and would like to see that maybe transferred to a different department, whether that's recreation, likely for field maintenance, or liquidate. But what we really kind of settled on over the course of reaching out to other municipalities was what's contained in a spreadsheet here. This went out to all towns and cities that are members of the municipal association to say, what are you using for? Primarily the question was sidewalk machines for sidewalk maintenance, and they came back with a variety of things. I asked what do you have for attachments and what have you noted for experience, and in reviewing these, it came that a trackless machine was very likely the best, and everybody said it's not cheap, but you're getting what you pay for with these. And I think some of the most informative were something like the city of Bangor, where they have 4 or 5 different types of equipment, and they've been able to compare them head to head with a consistent group of folks in the same area. So I sought out a price quote for a trackless machine, and that is included in your packet as well. And that was in the ballpark of $155,000 to $160,000. That came then the estimate of $175 for budgetary, and that is where that item stands.
So when you say trackless, that means,
That's the brand.
That's a brand.
oh, okay,
Like a Chevrolet,
okay.
a Ford.
I was thinking it had tracks or no tracks, and how are you going to use those to mow the sides of the road if it's got tracks on it?
And so the proposal is not just that base, thank you, the base equipment, it also includes the V-plow, the blower, and flail mower that would allow them to do roadside mowing.
How much
Yeah.
is it for roadside?
This year's contract at $20,500 this year.
And this machine will be able to do all the roadside milling for you?
That's correct.
With your own people doing it?
Correct.
And then is there another person that is, new personnel that is needed or hired on in the summer months to do this? And
So there's no, we would use existing staff. This is, I mean, the bigger question is for next year. That comes in the fall budget. I don't see there to be a need. But it's possible that the select board would say, no, we're gonna build this out and it's gonna be, that summer supplement where you have the extra summer work. And then this is a winter job for somebody, and so you're gonna have the sidewalk / roadside maintenance. One of the things that they did discuss was, we get our roadsides done twice a year. We would have greater control over the scheduling and the timing of that, the ability to revisit areas that are problematic or safety issues. So it's a cost savings long term, but it also represents an ability to control how and when that work gets done. But I can't commit to, this proposal doesn't ask for any additional staff. This proposal says, right now it's really about getting something for sidewalks this season. And so that's already a staffed position.
So the estimate is for 156 for essentially, but we're asking for 175.
That's correct. So this was an estimate that one vendor was able to give us. We can vote to waive the process and just say, okay, we're gonna go to HB Fairfield and purchase this. But in the perfect world, we're gonna go out and get extra. You're gonna get 3 price quotes at least, unless you put it out to sealed bid. And if you go to sealed bid, which is technically what the purchasing policy requires, it's possible that it elevates the price.
But you've already released this.
That's included in your packet. It is public record because it's been in my email. But that's the.
So if somebody wants it, they should go under 156.
That's part of the difficulty of doing business in the public sector, is that you need to go to a contract and get a budgetary price, and that budgetary price then becomes a matter of record. Which is why you'll oftentimes see the select board say, you know what, we've got a price that looks fair, we're going to accept it. It puts them at a disadvantage, or it puts us at a disadvantage in the future if, we trust a local partner. HB Fairfield's got a good reputation, they give you a price, and then we go put it up to bid underneath them. That's when you're likely to see that number increase. You didn't like our 156, here's 166 kind of a thing. Not that that's vendor specific or anything, but.
So are they a dealer for these?
Yes.
So they do have the service department for it?
Yes.
That was what my concern was, you're gonna have to have a service.
You purchased from the dealer before?
We purchase from HB Fairfield our equipment that goes on our plow trucks. So customarily, we buy our plow trucks through an O'Connor or somebody like that. And then the other half of that, the large portion of it is, the body outfit, the wings and sanders and chains and all of that comes from HB Fairfield.
Do you know who Dover, Foxcroft, and Bangor used?
As a dealer?
Yeah, because they both have MT7.
Yeah, I don't know who they used for a dealer.
I would be a bit surprised if it's
It's very likely. HB Fairfield is the vendor of
the area.
Municipal equipment.
Yeah. They cover a good portion of the state.
questions, comments?
So the old one, you think you'll just probably phase out, or?
The old one, I think, has a purpose, but the snow blower's on its last legs. We purchased a private sale snow blower for a couple grand secondhand, just to have on the shelf, if you will, which we had to get into already. I think you'll see it maybe move over to a place like Rec to help maintain fields.
What about the airport? What are they gonna do?
No, it doesn't have a mower on it. It's just it's a snow blower. So the airport is in the process of acquiring a rotary blower that goes on the large tractor that's out there, and that's, that price I think is in the ballpark of 90,000 plus 60,000 for engineering on that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they need a mower is what they need up there, but this wouldn't provide that for necessarily. And then we were talking about fund transfers. The airport would still have to buy that from the town because it operates in a separate fund, same way as the sewer department. If it goes to parks or cemetery or something like that, that's in the town. But the airport and the sewer operate in separate funds.
So what attachments would the M7 that we would purchase?
What they have priced us on right now is a blower, a V-plow, the spreader for the back, and then the flail mower.
So it says optional attachments, but that's you've already taken care of, or is that?
Well, they kind of knew what we were looking for in terms of sidewalk maintenance and the ability to roadside mow. And so that's what they priced out for us.
So I'm assuming when you said spreader, that's for salt or whatever.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure it was clear.
So we're talking about financial implications. You also have a spreadsheet here, and that's got your rundown on your undesignated fund balance or surplus. And auditing standards, so you're going to keep a minimum of 3 months expense only, not considering revenues in your surplus. And once you get 6 months, it's considered to be too much. So your January 1st balance is 2.7 million. Taxpayers or voters at town meeting approved up to 550,000 to be used to offset taxation. So that leaves you the current approximate balance of 2.152 million. And then you can see I've reduced here the 175 for the proposed equipment, and then 50,000 up to 50,000 for the next article that we've discussed. That leaves you with 1.927, and that is 4.14 month operating expense only. So it's still well above the 3 month threshold set by auditors. Recommended by auditors.
So if we make a motion to purchase it?
You would make a motion to recommend it. You want your motion to be in the affirmative, and then vote how it may.
Make a recommendation. Okay. To authorize. Yeah, the select board to appropriate amount not to exceed 175. This was, I'm reading this off of. 175,000 from the unassigned fund balance surplus to purchase a multi-use machine for sidewalk and road.
All in favor? And then if you
All
look,
right, the second article is Article 4, and that is to authorize the purchase of real property located on Mercer Road in Norridgewock, a 0.37 acre parcel, map 28 lot 42-1, for a price not to exceed 45,000, with such further terms and conditions as the select board deems to be in the best interest of the town, and to appropriate up to $50,000 from the unassigned fund balance surplus for the same. So the 45,000 is related to the purchase price. The 50,000 number there is because there are extra costs. There are closing costs, legal costs, and things like that. And so the select board, in order to pull the money from surplus, needs that authorization from voters. Surplus can't be touched without a vote of the town. So the 45 is the purchase price. That 5 is a contingency for closing costs.
This is how long is it for?
So right now, it's not determined what they would use it for. They've talked about the need for park and ride, which isn't terribly popular, but it is a need. They've talked about use for athletics in terms of potential for tennis courts and pickleball court mixture. And there's also been discussion about, the need just to have necessary public hearing over what people would want to see it used for in that location. Once it is acquired. The discussion behind this was the opportunity of that lot, its proximity to the school, and the fact that the town on numerous occasions has had access to real estate on Route 2 in the downtown area. let it go by or sold it to folks and then watched the property deteriorate over time. And so when this presented itself as an opportunity, the select board wanted to explore it. It is an improved lot. It's been full depth reconstruction on the lot. It's got public utilities. So you could theoretically move a mobile home in on that property. And I think the select board really wants to see something of economic development. And if that's a park and ride for folks to be able to get to the ironworks or you know, wherever the Bangor, then great. But I think maybe there's higher ambition there. So the commitment's been that they would work with the TIF committee to, you know, find the best use for the property.
And the parking lots in town, used very much.
The parking lots downtown, oh yeah, right now they're really capped out, and they have all but one of the lots has 2-hour time limits on it. And then the one that doesn't have it, that's where downtown residents and staff are parking to access the businesses. Right now, people are using private parking lots. We've seen it at the Grange, we see it at the Sewell store, primarily where folks are stopping and parking and riding. The Grange is limited access. And so people have gone then to a Sewell store. We're trying to work with the state to do something to support that, and we just haven't had much traction. But you know, there's a need there, not probably highest and best use to have a parking ride there, but an option that has been discussed.
For the record, the Grange doesn't have limited access. It's just that you have to take a left turn and pull in, and we did that because it was a safety concern. There are people zipping through that parking lot at 35 miles an hour, and we figured it was just a matter of time till there was a disaster. So we did it as a
but I think
just
perceived limited access to the Grange.
They should be reprogrammed. It's not limited. We could limit it.
In this purchase, was there any discussion about if a business wanted to come to town and locate in that lot, would they resell the lot to a business?
There has been discussion about even a project proposal, kind of competition or something like that as an avenue for this lot. But nobody's willing to commit to that. A, because it's not in hand, it's not titled, and B, that it's a bigger involvement of people before something like that would happen. I know it's really soft and it's difficult to kind of act on that, but the properties that they've seen go through the hands of the town and back.
I totally get that.
That's the
It's
difficult.
also a prime location for a business.
Correct. And there's been more industrial proposal for that property.
Yeah.
And that might have helped move things.
Does the town know other properties like this around?
Not presently, that's not tax acquired. I mean, this would turn into a place like a municipal parking lot or a green space in the interim if the town's able to acquire it.
Did we purchase the place across from Dave's garage?
No, that came to us by non-payment of sewer use tax.
Okay.
And so that is still under title of the town, and we're waiting to go through the state statute process to be able to either return it to former owner or to sell it.
The town wouldn't keep it.
We could, but that hasn't gotten to that point yet, but that's gonna be with the new statutes that have been put into place for disposal of town-owned property. Tax acquired or sewer use charge acquired property, it's still, we would have to pay fair market value for it and return proceeds of the sale to the previous owner.
I mean, if you're talking pickleball and tennis, that seems like a good sport. Better.
It's not very big over there, I don't think, is it?
It's about the same size, I believe.
Is that where the place burned down?
Yes.
Yeah.
So in the select board meeting, they talked about improvements and how they would get the funds for that. What improvements do they have in mind? They would use rescue funds or TIP fund. So in the back of somebody's mind, there's improvements to be made.
Well, I think that is it gonna be a park and ride? Is it gonna be a pickleball or tennis court, or it would be tennis / pickleball? I know that's been one of the big talks. We have a member of the board that really likes pickleball, and that's something that reaches across all ages. So those are the kind of things where you don't want to tie your hands in terms of funding access. There's no solid plan.
But you're asking people to buy it without telling them what the purpose is gonna be.
Because nobody really knows what it is.
So when does the public get a chance to vote on pickleball or no? When do they get a chance to vote on what the use is?
So it would be the funding mechanism on the back end, and then the discourse, the public discourse of, okay, now we have the property, what do you want to do with it? And the commitment to be working with the TIF committee to determine that. No, they're kind of our economic development committee, if you will.
But does the town ever get to vote on it again? Do people in the town get to vote? I want it to be a park and ride, I want it to be
That's not how it's structured right now.
a canopy.
Not under this vote. This has already been written and signed off, and we can't modify the language contained in the article.
So why are we here?
Pardon?
No, it's okay.
Why would the tip?
If a member of the committee is not happy with the language, then feel free to vote against it, advise voting against it, but.
No, I'm not happy with the language, I just want to know down the road what, how, you buy it. What is the difference between buying it and then how do you use it? Should be two parts.
If the tip fund is going to have association with this, why is it not coming out of tip fund money and taxpayer money?
It may not be that the TIF fund will fund it in the future. It's that the 7 people that serve on TIF committee have been on the inner workings of what we're trying to do for economic development. They're the ones that are keeping an eye on the revitalization plan, trying to promote development, trying to come up with new and different ways to stimulate local economy, whether that's through the facade or the loan program or things like that. It just seems like a fitting, already existing committee of folks that have invested their time to be able to review and contribute ideas to the conversation.
And what about like ARPA funds? I mean, there's still plenty of money there.
Yep, I want to say there's about 125,000, and that's relatively without restriction, but the process there is that the board has, that was a discussion. That was, I had proposed using the funds from that, but the board said that utilizing surplus allowed the latitude later on to use that for other funding, whether it's to improve a property or for a different project. That just straight up real estate acquisition wasn't appropriate use of the money. And candidly, the TIF fund, after it pays for the projects that are queued up, is not going to have a ton of money left.
After what?
There's projects that are on, like the sidewalk project, that's a big chunk of commitment that's been there. It's not doing terrible and there'll be more money come in, but you know, folks were thinking that, oh, there's $750,000 in there. And there's, I mean, there is for the day, but it's committed.
The reason why this isn't coming up in a regular meeting is because it might not be available then, or.
Sorry.
Why are we voting on this now rather than, I know you had a special town meeting, but probably very few people will show up for that compared to what shows up at the regular town meeting. So why are we doing this now instead of the town meeting?
So with real estate, time is of the essence, and it came up and it was sheer oddity, I guess, or sheer luck, depending upon how one looks at it, that it came up at the time of the special election. And so the board has also said it's going to be on secret ballot to allow people to be able to vote by absentee ballot to maximize participation. It's not going to be at the school, it'll be here and it'll be by secret ballot.
And they're going to hold the property until the town decides whether or
So it'll
not.
go into purchase and sales, right?
Okay.
Yep,
So it's not really a town meeting, it's an election.
that's correct.
Okay. Can you indulge me one more time? I like both ideas. I really think we should buy it. And I like pickleball, I like parking, whatever. But I just want to be sure that I understand this. The opportunity for the public to decide, to vote on whether it's pickleball or park and ride or sell it to a business is only going to be through going to a public hearing some night and saying, hey, I really would like it to be pickleball. The ultimate decision is going to come down to select, not the people.
It depends upon the funding mechanism. So if it's TIF. If they decide they want to go to TIF, then TIF advisory is going to have to review it, make a recommendation, and then it would go to the select board. If it's rescue plan money, then they would hold a public hearing on rescue plan expense, and then they could authorize that. If there's a departmental funding or anything like that, then that would end up, I mean, obviously, I think be a game changer. It's not going to come from a reserve account to develop anything. Or if it's a rec project, rec doesn't have that kind. So that would be when it came.
So the point is, it's unlikely to ever be on a ballot.
To that, yeah, I think it would be very unlikely that to decide the single individual use of a property for use on ballot, in the same way that Emery Square, you know, that was designated as supposed to be economic development and nothing ever came. And so through working groups, the Parks Committee and whatnot, it just became a green space to enhance the downtown as opposed to being the broken off rock wall. Things like that never went to a public vote in terms of final and end use.
And the wording can be changed to include financing from or with a special town vote to see what might become of it. There's no leeway with that.
Right, because of the timing on it. So the select board's not scheduled to meet again until the 17th of July. So the 17th of July is 13 days, 12 days arguably before the town meeting. You have to have 7 days ahead on a public hearing, and they have to post the public hearing ahead. So they would ultimately have to schedule a special meeting in order to be able to change the language in the warrant, re-sign a warrant, and then get it back to me to get it back to you to post a public hearing, have that public hearing, and get everything posted in adequate time. And then in the meanwhile, I'm not able to issue absentee ballots because we would be in the process of getting recommendations and finalizing the language.
So we hurry up and we do it this way, and then people don't get to vote on it.
And all the people that would be voting are representatives of the greater people.
Right.
Like the select board, the TIF committee, everyone has been voted on.
114 people voted.
Do you think more people would vote on this? On the use of this property?
You might have your pickleball people and your park people.
I think you'd be lucky to get 140.
I just think there should be some mechanism by which they're voting to buy it. They should at least have an idea of what the intentions are.
Years ago, the town stayed away from buying property. And that was all they drove into it.
Or maybe
looking into it now.
maybe a business might hear this meeting and come in and say, okay, after it's purchased, you know, I'd like to give you 60,000, you know, for put my business on there. And that again is just determined by selectmen.
No, if there is, well, so any real estate negotiation is confidential. That's, you'll never hear that in a public meeting. That's always an executive session. If it goes to a release to a business, then that has to go again to a vote of the townspeople to release that property. We had 1/10 of an acre, I think. It was less than 1/10 of an acre, and we wanted to release it to abutters to clean things up for the town, and we still had to take that 1/10 of an acre to town meeting to get that released. And it took almost 18 months. Yeah.
And Alice Emery, I think the understanding has always been if somebody came into town, they wanted to do business and be flipped. I mean, even I was told when those panels went up, it's always been the idea that they could be removed. It's not forever locked into being a park.
Well, it is because you can't get a building permit there.
But if you bought the other two buildings next to it.
You're in the shoreline zone.
So what does that mean? Nobody can ever buy those two buildings?
Because it's been gone for more than 12 months. You can buy it and you can work with your footprint and expansion rules, but because that structure's been gone for so much time, you can't do anything with it. So the best that you can do is try to create a green space that enhances the economy around it, right? And I think that's kind of what it's done. That's what the goal was with the gift was she wanted somebody to be able to do something there, and nobody ever did. And then the town sat on it for long enough with no structure there, and now you're lost it. That's the only benefit of the abutting property having a foundation on it still.
Could it be used for a food pantry?
It would have to be portable, it would have to be in a trailer.
Wait, you said a mobile home could go
Oh,
on?
on this property.
This property could be,
Yes.
They're talking about the Iowa Summer Square.
Oh, okay, sorry, I was,
You're getting the two confused.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we allocated the funds, we went under purchase and sale, the town ended up breaking that last agreement with Haas before the food pantry, and now we have the Winslow Community Cupboard that comes to town, and we also have the federal fruit drop that comes to town. And the town is just gifting money to the food trailer, to have them continue to come to town. And I can tell you that we have very few number of calls for food support in town now. I think that the Winslow Community Cupboard coming in at the time that they did saved the thought of the town having to in-house a food pantry. It's an independent 501c3. We've given them $3,000, and we purchased a battery-operated trailer dolly for them. And from what I gather, that's overwhelming support that they don't see from any other municipality.
Which is way cheaper than having your own.
right, we were going to do that.
Oh, I know, I was
You
here,
know,
I was here at the
so-
meetings, and it was gonna be a lot of money.
So we're gonna vote to approve this or not approve it now, is that where we're at?
Mm-hmm.
Make a motion,
Yeah, I make a motion that we approve it.
is there a second? All in favor? Guess that's everybody? Yeah. Mhm. Okay. That's everything. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Make most to adjourn.
Adjourn? Second. Adjourn. Everybody, July 30th. July 30th.
Yeah.